This is the Horse Radio Network.
Hey, you're listening to Adulting with Horses, the best place to be if you can't be at the barn. We are your co-hosts and equine authors, Heather Wallace and Natalie Keller-Reinert. As crazy horse girls, we don't take ourselves too seriously in the saddle or out. We celebrate the things that make us different. Join us as we talk about horses and pop culture and get a little weird in a fun way. Thank you for being a little weird with us. Okay, so I wanted to talk in this bonus episode about the red flags you might see at boarding barns, because we've already talked at this point about the things we look for in a barn. But what about the things you definitely see and say, you know what, maybe this isn't the right fit for me?
Yeah.
Right? Like there's so many red flags.
Yeah, there's usually a warning for everything, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, it could be something, again, this is subjective, because what I look for in a boarding barn, boarding barn, is not necessarily the same thing that you would look for in a boarding barn. Especially because you're too cool now and you have horses on your property.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons I always keep horses on my property is because I have had so many insane experiences with boarding barns that I do not believe there are any normal nice ones. And I know that you love yours, but I just haven't had similar experiences. I can't think of a single barn I would go back to. Ooh,
really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's never gonna be the way you would do it, right? Because
yeah, that's the thing. And I'm a micromanager, in that I like things done my
you're
way.
that one.
Yeah, I am. I like running barns because I like being in charge and doing everything my way, and my way is the correct way.
Are all the bridles wrapped figure eight?
Yes. Oh my God. You better just get out if you can't wrap your bridle. I don't even want to talk to you.
Everybody avoid Natalie. She's not offering boarding at her farm right now.
No. You have to hang the halter by the noseband round pieces. You definitely can't hang it by the noseband. Like, I'll kill you. And if you hang it from the crown piece, then that means that you're sliding it over the horse's head and using the little snap like an 8-year-old. We don't do that in my barn.
Do you undo at the buckle and put it up and over? Okay.
We use the crown piece like adults. Heather.
My barn is a little different. I'm like, am I the problem? Once again. Okay, so I'll not be boarding with you. I am a bit of a micromanager when it comes to like my horse's feed. Like, I want to make sure that they're on what they're supposed to be on, and I don't want them to, like, I'm happy to buy it, right? Mm-hmm. If it's different than what the barn owner says, right? But I have the biggest pet peeve is if I walk into a barn, so I'm touring the facility, and there is tack boxes open, or there's like stuff where people just throw stuff on top of the tack boxes and it's like littered with disorganization. I do not like that.
No, absolutely not. Like, people, because that's what leads to theft or accusations of theft. When people are just throwing their stuff around willy-nilly and it's getting lost, especially when you have a bunch of kids, that's when stuff is like, it's borrowed or it's not put away and somebody freaks out and then everybody's fighting. And that's where barn politics start. And you know what? That's the way it stays, because those kids learn that everything is contentious. It's probably one of the problems with America, quite frankly.
Well, and also too, like, so I'll walk in, I have 2 stalls and I have, you know, the 2 boxes. And if I come in and I see people who are, it's okay if they're lessening or whatever, and you want to put something on top. But if I'm coming to work on my horses, I don't want your stuff on my tack box. Like, I pay for that. Mm-hmm. I pay for everything in it. Like, maybe put yourself somewhere else. Or if you leave, take it with you. Don't just, like, I can't tell you how many times I've found, like, dirty blankets on my tack box. Like, no, thank you.
No, that's very disrespectful, because those are your nice things. You're not paying, you know, to have other people's dirty stuff put all over your nice things, and they're not doing that Why aren't they putting on their stuff? You
Can
know what I
tell
mean?
you? So my biggest red flag. Now you know that I'm like, apparently I put on halters wrong, but
Big time.
the reason I left my barn when I first bought Ferris, you might not laugh. This might be very serious for you because you're a halter thing, but he never had his halter. His halter had his nameplate on it with like a little tag.
Yeah.
And they kept giving him someone else's halter.
No. Nope. Directly to jail. Can't.
I'm
No.
sorry. Like, it was very specifically his. It had a matching lead rope, okay? He's in the same paddock every day with the same horses. You know which is his halter.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go to someone else's stall to get my halter back.
No, that is absolutely the worst. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't stand it. It's the worst.
And I will, in my own defense, I did not leave for that reason, but when he got a facial, he had a problem, and he had a big eruption on his face that needed medicated shampoo and all this other stuff, and we weren't sure if it was contagious. So I said, it's very important that he has his own halter, right?
Right.
And they kept doing it. And I was like, that's it. Like, this is now a medical issue, and now I'm not just being, like, particular. This is ridiculous.
Oh, my goodness. That is...
Red flag.
Red flag, because they're not, you don't know what else they're not paying attention to when it comes to personalization, and everything about your horse's life has to be personalized. Now, something that I have seen, which is a massive red flag, is when somebody is cutting all kinds of corners by buying things in bulk, or saying, oh, you can just use this. It's exactly the same thing, only it's cheaper. I have been in a barn where the feed was getting milled specifically for the barn, and the horses were on these scoops, like these huge metal scoops. They would be getting like 3 scoops of this feed night and day, because it was almost all just cheap cereals. It wasn't like, there weren't any like extruded pellets or anything in it. They were just eating like oats and corn with molasses.
I've seen
on
that.
it.
It's
And all of the horses were out of their minds, because their entire life was sugar high, sugar low, sugar high, sugar low. No minerals, no salts, just sugar up, sugar down, sugar up, sugar down. And she wormed them, she or he, barn manager, wormed them with liquid Ivomec for cattle.
That doesn't seem healthy.
No. But it was one of those things where it was like, oh, this is a trick that you can use to save money. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Ha ha ha. Yeah. All the horses in the barn, from the same like metal syringe, she would go around. Yeah. There were like 50 horses at this barn.
Red flag.
Huge red flag. Yeah.
Mine is, if I go into a barn and the lesson horses look like they have no muscle, and they haven't had their feet done, I will not bring my horse there. I'm sorry. If you can't take care of your horses correctly, you're definitely not going to be able to take care of mine correctly.
You look into a lesson horse, that could possibly be the most important thing you do, right?
Yes.
See how they're taking care of their own horses that make them money. And if they look splendid, then go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like watch a lesson or meet some of the lesson horses, even ride one of the lesson horses, and you'll know quite a bit. And it's actually really good too. Take a lesson with the trainer before you, even if you don't plan on taking lessons, see if you guys mesh.
That's a really good point, because you're going to learn so much about that trainer's whole philosophy towards horses. So yeah, even if you're not there as a student or to get your horse worked on, you're just literally looking for a stall and a turnout, you would learn like how that person feels about horses, honestly. Are they machines or are they animals?
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Thank you. I have some sometimes, periodically. But I've been to a lot of barns in my work, and then Ferris and I had a Goldilocks situation where, the first barn wasn't quite right. It was too big. And then our second barn was too small. This is my favorite red flag. If the trainer and or barn owner and or barn manager sits in the arena and watches you ride and then tells you all the things you could do to fix it without you asking.
Oh,
that happened to me.
That's I'm sure some people might consider that free lessoning, but you'd really
I don't
have
need
to
your judgment. Thank you.
yeah, you'd really have to want that specific kind of environment. My God.
Nothing I did. I felt like I was constantly being watched on the video, like on camera.
Oh no. Oh yeah, a lot of cameras with not a lot of staff. That's a red flag because you don't know who's watching you and what they're doing with that information that they're gathering. Like they could be sitting there going, "Oh, I can't believe she does this," and they're going, to their friends on Facebook and be like, "Oh, I can't believe she does this," and you're like, "I was just,
Minding my own damn business."
exactly. Like I don't come out here to be spied on. I just want to ride my damn horse." Yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta watch that. I
No,
almost
super
like
toxic.
busier barns to avoid like being laser focused like that. Where somebody could just be watching you for their own amusement. It's like the line between a business and a hobby. You know what I mean? Is the boarding stable a business or is it somebody's hobby? And how does that affect how they interact with you and how they treat you? That's pretty big because there are a lot of hobbyists who, they might just, kick you out or try to frighten you out and stuff like that. Like they're great hobbyists, but it can be a mixed bag.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I think would be an interesting red flag, and I think it's an underutilized one, is if other barn managers can't say anything nice about you, right? Because it's a small community. And, while there's some level of competition, everybody does know everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get along, right? If they don't get along with them for some reason, is it because one or both of them is not the best?
Yeah. There are people to this day that I boarded with, more than 20 years ago who are no longer in this community that I'm still hearing stories about. So yeah, somebody, you should be able to say, "How is so-and-so?" and they should have something nice to say about that person. And conversely, if your barn manager is just making everything into politics, then they're probably the one in the wrong.
Yeah. Avoid the drama if you can.
Yes.
I mean, even if you like a little bit of drama, you don't want to be the drama because that person's going to talk about you too, and your horse probably.
Yeah. If you're the drama barn, then you need to go to another barn to be able to gossip about the drama, but not be one of the people that is the gossip.
Yeah. Don't be the drama.
Correct. Don't be the main character in anyone's story.
Unless it's your own. Okay. I think that's, and one of the things I saw, and I've seen all of these are real life examples.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a show and the trainer has to beat the shit out of a horse to get him on the trailer, maybe you don't want to ride with them.
Yes.
That seems obvious to me, but huge red flag.
It should be more obvious now than it used to be, I think. You know what I mean? Like I think that people are starting to understand that any kind of like severe pressure, but especially beating the shit out of, is no bueno. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, like if you have horses that don't trailer well, then you shouldn't probably not be showing them. Like maybe work on that first.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah. It sounds like you have bigger problems.
Right.
For sure.
And also, why don't they like you?
It's really funny. My mare Bonnie that didn't like me for whatever reason, she also didn't load well for me, but she would load for other people. She just hated
You're
me.
You're just making my point.
I know, but I was nice to Bonnie. She just didn't like me.
And that's it. Sometimes personalities clash, and it's the same way with barns. Sometimes you're just not in the right barn for your personality. And I think, when I was looking for barns, I was in a big barn, then I was in a really small barn, then I was in a medium-sized barn. Medium-sized barn was great, but then they moved to a big barn, and I was like, this is not for me.
Right.
And I left because I didn't want to be at the big barn. Like, I didn't want that. I wanted the medium-size feel for me, right? But interestingly enough, a lot of the horses that are there at that barn now are all spooky as shit. And I don't know why.
Did you put a curse on them with Heather?
No, because Yeah, Ferris ended up having like a hernia when we left there, and he was super spooky while he was there. He was only there a couple weeks before we moved. I don't think it's anything. I think there might be ghosts on the property. I'll be honest.
I don't know.
It's a very old property.
Spooks are one of those big mysteries. They can mean so many different things or nothing at all.
It's a beautiful property. There was an actual Olympian there that owned it.
Mm-hmm.
A female rider, side saddle jumper.
What?
Don't remember her name. I'm sorry.
She sounds awesome.
Yeah, she's badass, right? Her grandson runs it now. It's a great barn, but it just wasn't the feel that I wanted. Like, I didn't want the big barn.
You can't shoehorn yourself into a barn. That's like the biggest thing. Like, if the atmosphere isn't right for you, you're gonna hate it. I remember one time I was at the cutest little barn, and it was the right price for me, and the turnout was great, and I really liked the person who owned it. But I was a fairly serious shower at that point, and I was with one other girl who was as well, and then the other boarders there were, like 50-something women who just they didn't want to ride. They just wanted to come out and sit and have a beer and look at their horses after dinner, which I get. That's cool, but it was so the wrong environment for me and my friend, and they hated us because we were banging around, tacking up, and building jumps.
You were riding.
We were using the facilities that were provided to us, and they were like, we were just a disturbance to them. So it didn't matter that the price was right or that the owner was great or the property was great, because the people that were already there had they had established what that barn's atmosphere was going to be, and it was not for us. Not for us to change it.
And that's a great comment, though, is about like looking at the people there, right? Like, who are the other boarders?
It's huge. These people, they can be your chosen family, or they can be these people that you're nervous around, that you just want to tiptoe around when you're trying to have some quality time with your horse. And fitting in quality time is hard enough without wondering who's at the barn. If you get a pit in your stomach when you're driving in, talk about a red flag. If you could,
trust your gut, maybe.
Yeah, I always used to end up like that. I'd always be driving out going, oh, I wonder what's going to be here. Who's going to be here? Where's my horse going to be? That was not good. So.
No, that's not good at all. That's a big red flag. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the most important one is like, if you pull in and your gut just says no, maybe listen to it.
Yeah, my gut is very emphatic. Like, it's...
I don't need to know about your bowels
when it says
or anything
no,
here.
Forget it. It's over. Yeah. Red flag. When they don't have a real bathroom, what are we doing here? They have to have a bathroom.
Oh, like, I know some that have like the porta potties.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Let's not do that anymore. Even an outhouse, I feel like, would be preferable to a porta potty. Like, build a good mulching toilet like they have at state parks, At least something that's got some space in it where you can like not touch the walls.
I'm okay with the porta potty as long as like it doesn't say last cleaned in 2001. You know what I mean? Like I gotta have a couple of standards there, but my other red flag, as I was thinking about like walking around a property, is like, are all the horses in the stalls, or are they actually in the paddocks? That's a huge red flag for me, because that's very important.
Yeah, and if they tell you the horses don't like being turned out, that's the reddest of red flags.
Leave now. Run.
Our horses hate being turned out. Okay, you have big problems. It's like saying a beagle hates food. There's an issue there.
I like my horses to be turned out like always. I like the stall for aesthetics. Thank you. Like, if there's bad weather, that's when I want to stall. But otherwise, I want my horses to be out as much as possible.
Well, and this might be one that some newer horse people might not realize, but if you walk into the barn and it smells like a barn, that's a problem. Barns shouldn't smell like anything unless, it's like really closed up for the winter.
It's not clean.
Yeah. Like, somebody asked me the other day, if horses smelled good or bad when they were wet. And I said, horses don't smell like anything. They just smell like outside. Yeah, they smell like grass and dirt. They don't have a smell. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, well, if they've been stabled all winter, they smell very musty.
I'll tell you right now, Delight smells a little like piss, because And I'm gonna tell you why. Okay,
Okay.
I'm just gonna like give myself a little. He likes to lay down in his stall, but he like paces the stall because he doesn't like the stall. Okay, so when he's in
Oh.
at night, he paces the stall, and then he lays down in his little bed that he made of pee. Um, and he's not wearing a blanket this year because we're learning to horse,
Right.
right? And so every day I come, and the first thing I do is take those grooming wipes because it's too cold to actually bathe,
Right.
and I wipe him down so he stops smelling like pee.
Oh my goodness.
So,
That's really funny that he's not
yeah.
blanketed. I put sheets on my horses last night in Florida. It was
Mine
39.
earlier. No,
My
I've taught him how. This is now his second year.
Yeah.
And the second year of blanket training, I teach them you grow enough hair and body fat, and we under blanket. So like where if it was 45 degrees and he would get a sheet, right? If he seems like he's okay, we avoid the sheet and we go straight to a medium when it drops. And so he never gets the sheet and he never needs the heavy. Like it kind of like finds that middle ground. So like we've kind of like, it took some time. It took a couple years. But
Yeah.
he's got enough hair that he's happy. He's only worn his blanket maybe 3 days this winter.
That's fun. I do things a little differently because of the damp. So
Yes.
I sheet if it's like 40-ish and just damp. Like we had 100% humidity last night and it had rained. So the ground was wet, everything. Then I sheet just for insulation because it's just so wet. It's in your bones. And then if it's not damp, then I blanket when it's like 35 and below. That's my rule.
Yeah. I kind of was like, it was funny for my barn owner to pivot when I asked her to, because, you know, she has got like, it's 45, you put a blanket on, right? You put a sheet on or whatever. And I was like, yeah, when you would put a medium, that's where you could put a sheet on, like when we were training. And then, so we had to pivot. Ferris, who hasn't needed a blanket for years, only got a blanket once this year when it got to be 6 degrees.
Wow. Very impressive.
He is kind of beast mode at this point. But again, that's a red flag if you tell somebody you don't want your horse blanketed and they blanket them anyway. Or this is a big one for me. If it's 50 degrees and I roll up and all the horses are wearing mediums,
Yeah.
I think that's laziness. I'm sorry.
It is. I see that in Florida all the time where people just leave their blankets on. Like, it's hot now. The sun is out. That, that's how it works here. It gets very cold at night and very warm during the day. Now get out there and get that rug off. Yeah. Yeah. They have to, some people do have really complicated blanketing instructions, but you know what? That's the job. That's the job.
It is. And I'm the one, like if I'm there and I'm saying, okay, is it going to drop tonight? I'll blanket my horse for you. Or if I show up, I'll take off the blanket. I'm happy to do it. But if I can't get there, I expect it to be done. Because that's why I'm paying $1,000 or more a month.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. If you want the work done, you're paying for the work. If you want the job, charge for the job you're going to do. And just be honest about everything.
Yeah,
if
like
all you're going to do is dump
like
feed,
70 degrees and they'd be wearing mediums.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no wonder they all colic and die.
Yeah, I mean, if all you're willing to do is dump feed and keep the water bucket full, then tell me that and charge me accordingly, and I'll adjust my schedule so I can go out and take the horse's blanket off.
Right.
Just be honest.
Absolutely. Be honest about it. Be upfront. So, like, when we have red flags, we'll be like, oh, we already knew about them.
Exactly.
Informed decisions, Natalie.
It's a jungle out there, Heather.
It really is. Thank God you have horses on your property. That's the dream.
I genuinely couldn't. I would just lose my mind if I tried to do it any other way. I couldn't do it. Bless you.
Thank you for being a little weird with us, Horse Girl. If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your player of choice. Follow us on Instagram at Adulting with Horses Podcast, or even better, join our Adulting with Horses Clubhouse on Facebook, where you can become part of the show. Also, it's a great place to meet other horse crazy women.